ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here we find a very beautiful and scientific analysis of how the different subtle and gross material object come into manifestation. All of you should try to understand this. Otherwise, it will look little difficult to understand if we don't try to put our mind. So, first thing which we had discussed earlier also, we saw Lord Kapila explaining about beginning from subtle to gross. Already we had discussed about false ego, mind, intelligence getting manifested. They are all subtle elements. Later on, Lord Kapila explains about gross material elements. Same that Bhumir, Apo, Nala, Vayu, those are gross material elements. Khama. Even though sky is also gross, but we cannot see. Everything gross is appreciated with form. First thing we should understand. Everything gross has a form. Only difference is invisible form and visible form. The form of air, the form of sky is not visible to us. We perceive it through some other senses. Generally, form is understood to be perceived with eyes. But if you scientifically understand, this is what is being appreciated in today's class. Form need not be just appreciated with eyes. Forms can be appreciated with different qualities. It can be appreciated with different qualities. So, we saw how from sky sound is produced. It is appreciated by sound. How do we appreciate space? Presence of sound. You cannot see otherwise sky. So you know there is a space if you can perceive sound. Then there is a space. Similarly, you cannot see air. It has a form, but you cannot perceive that with your eyes. You can perceive air by touch. So, kham is appreciated by shabda. Air, vayu, is appreciated with shabda is already there. Sparsha, you can appreciate air by touch. Wind is blowing, hot, cold, so you know, yes, there is air. Fire, third, from air fire is produced, and fire is appreciated with three things. Already it will be there, shabda will be there, sparsha will be there. Addition is form, rupa, which you can start perceiving with your eyes now. Now you just try to understand. From fire onwards, that is fire, water, earth, all of them will contain form. Correct? Water will contain one extra thing, rasa. Earth will contain another extra thing, gandha. But otherwise, in all three forms are common, and actually in before that two also form is there, invisible form. That is what if you read today's purport, otherwise we will get confused. Sky also has a form, air also has a form, but it is invisible. And you can appreciate that form separately by some other method. Form of sky is appreciated by shabda. Form of air is appreciated by sparsha. Form of fire, now Prabhupada is explaining, is appreciated by effulgence. Form of fire is appreciated by effulgence. Form of water is appreciated by taste, rasa. Form of earth is appreciated by smell. Different flowers will smell differently, accordingly you can perceive the form of earth there. Understood? That is how to appreciate form in different objects. Now if you read purport, then it will make little sense. Every form that we appreciate has its particular dimension and characteristics. Some dimensions you may not be able to see. Say for example, salt. Only externally you can perceive. But how the salt is constituted with different elements, just arranged in such a way, it will give you salty perception. And same material, it may be same carbon dioxide, it may be same carbon, oxygen, these molecules, arranged little differently will give you sweet taste. Scientifically, if you try to understand. Salt and sweet molecules may be same, arranged differently can give you completely different taste altogether. So that is why Prabhupada is saying both are important, dimension and characteristics. So form can be appreciated by dimension. He is very tall, that is dimension. Correct? He is very short, dimension. He is very fat, dimension. He is very thin, dimension. So this is how we appreciate the form, right? Another way of appreciating the form is by its characteristics. Suppose if I have to appreciate mango, I cannot appreciate really mango even though it has dimension. But real appreciation of mango is not by size. It is by how it tastes. So an object can be appreciated not just by dimension, not just by external form, but by the form which gives it a different characteristic. So the constitution in mango is arranged in such a way, it will give you certain taste. Prabhupada is saying salt, it is arranged in such a way that it will give you salty taste. Sugar, it is arranged in such a way it will give you sweet taste. And that is how we appreciate sugar and salt separately. We don't appreciate sugar and salt, bigger crystal, smaller crystals. Even though we can say, salt, let us say you have powdered salt, and you say these are smaller crystals, and you say for the sugar, bigger crystals are there, you say bigger crystal. Is that the definition of salt and sugar? Isn't it? So salt and sugar is appreciated with characteristics. So now if you see what Prabhupada is saying, every form that we appreciate has its particular dimensions and characteristics. So now Prabhupada says, quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. Object is appreciated with utility. This is mic. Utility is I can speak. That is camera. Utility is I can record. Correct? So an object is appreciated quality by its utility. Now, where it is said in today's verse, quality, forms are appreciated with quality. Gunata. You see, it says, Dravya Akartitvam. What is Akartitvam? Dimension. Correct? How do you appreciate form? There are three ways to appreciate form. It has a dimension. If I say you are tall, that is dimension. You are short, that is dimension. You are fat, that is dimension. You are thin, that is dimension. So that is how to appreciate, one way of appreciating form. Another way of appreciating form is by gunata, by quality. So, the example is sugar. Sugar we don't appreciate by saying bigger sugar, bigger crystal, smaller crystal. We appreciate by saying its quality, sweetness, salt, saltiness. Correct? So that is second way of appreciating form. Third, Prabhupada says, Vyakti samsthatvam. What does it mean? Individuality. That also we will see. Individuality is also an important aspect to appreciate form. Then, tejastvam tejasaha. Similarly, fire is appreciated by effulgence. Tejastvam, tejasaha means fire. Fire is appreciated by effulgence. So, there are varieties of ways to perceive form. Those people, they are foolish if they say, I don't see God, I don't believe in God. Foolishness. Because forms can be perceived in varieties of ways. That is what is being explained here. Air is not perceived by seeing. Air is perceived by touch. Sky is not perceived by seeing. Sky is perceived by sound. Earth is not perceived by form. Earth is perceived by smell. Water is not perceived by form. Water is perceived by taste. Everything is very specific characteristic of appreciating particular form. Right? Flower, how do you appreciate? By smell. Not big flower, small flower. That is not exactly how we appreciate a flower. Flower is appreciated by smell. Fruit is appreciated by taste, not by the shape of that fruit. That is also one way, but that is not real way of appreciating that object. Real way of appreciating the object is by utility. That has to be understood very nicely. So how do we understand now that actually everything has a form? Nothing is practically formless. Prabhupada comes to this conclusion. Some forms are not visible, some forms are visible. Now you see, Prabhupada says, sound is different. Perception of sound is different. I'll just read that portion Prabhupada is saying. The form of sound is independent. Forms which are invisible can be understood by touch. Air, say for example, it is invisible. You can only perceive it by touch. That is the independent appreciation of invisible form. So that is how you find individuality is there. Everything is individual. Air you perceive separately, earth you perceive separately, sound you perceive separately. That is called individuality. But sound, Prabhupada says, is independent. Independent is in the sense, it is the sound which is the basis of all forms in this material world. It is the basis. And same thing as we discussed, material sound, material forms. Spiritual sound, spiritual forms. So, with material sound we will become entangled. With spiritual sound we will become liberated. That is the difference. So, Prabhupada explains something very beautifully in this context. He has given a lecture. So in that he brings about this point. How to start appreciating the forms of the Supreme Lord. See how beautifully Prabhupada derives. He derives a conclusion. Just like even in today's purport, Prabhupada is saying everything has a form. Some forms are invisible, some are visible. Different methods of appreciating them is there. That scientifically we should understand. Simply just because I don't see God, we should not start thinking there is no God. Even material element, Prabhupada is saying there are different ways of appreciating. You cannot perceive everything with eyes. Simply saying because I don't see God, we should not think there is no God. You don't see air, so there is no air. There is a different method of perceiving air. It has to be perceived by touch. Similarly, there is a different method of perceiving the Supreme Lord form, not with this mundane, any of the senses. Neither you can hear spiritual sound, neither you can see spiritual form. With these mundane eyes you cannot see. Beginning, that is how you will find Shukdev Goswami for neophytes who have not developed that faith in the words of the Supreme Lord. For them it is said, Virat Rupa you should appreciate. That you can see, right? Something which is very, very huge is what we can appreciate. So then, imaginary form of God is at least conceived that yes, Rasatala, Talatala, these constitute the feet of the Lord. Similarly, the higher upper planetary system, Janalok, Tapalok, these constitute the head of the Lord. Isn't it? And then the different bodily parts of the Lord, the trees, these constitute the hairs on the body of the Lord. The rivers flowing, the water flowing constitute the veins of the Lord. You see, that is how to perceive the Virata Rupa. But that is all imaginary form. Just to make an impression, God has a form. Because we cannot appreciate otherwise form. Okay, at least begin by Virata Rupa, which grossly you can see, yes, this is what I can see. Isn't it? Otherwise, Brahma Samhita describes what is the form of the Lord. Venum kvanantam aravinda dalaya taksham varahavatam samasitam buddhasundarangam kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham govindamadi purusham tamaham vajami. That is the form of the Lord. He is playing in Tribhanga form, he is playing on the flute, his head is decorated with peacock feather, his bodily hue is that of a new monsoon cloud, and the form which we see, millions of Cupid, even they will be ashamed in front of the beauty of the form of the Lord. In Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami has described 64 different characteristics of the form of the Lord. 64. Of course, there are innumerable, prominent, other qualities of the form of the Lord are innumerable, you cannot even count. So there it is described that out of 64, even the living entity, when it becomes completely perfected in spiritual realization as a devotee of the Lord, can have 50 qualities in minute. He has 64 qualities in full. Living entity can have 50 qualities in minute only when they become pure devotees. Another 5 qualities only great personalities like Brahma and Shiva can possess. Another 5 quality only Narayana can possess, and exclusively another 4 quality only Krishna possesses. He has all other 60 also, but exclusively another 4 only he possesses. So, how to start appreciating the beautiful form of the Lord with these qualities is very nicely described by Srila Rupa Goswami. Searching and from all the Vedic literatures, he has taken out the proofs of these different qualities. Very beautifully is described. Just like the first quality he describes is that the form of the Lord has very attractive, beautiful features. The form of the Lord is very beautiful. All the different parts of the body of the Lord are very beautiful. So, there is a quotation in Bhagavatam where the ladies of Mathura are appreciating the form of the Lord. They are appreciating the fortune of gopis in Vrindavan, that every moment they are able to drink the beauty of the form of the Lord. So they are saying that the gopis, they are cursing Lord Brahma. They are saying Brahma does not know the art of proper creation. Even millions of eyes are insufficient to drink the beauty of the Lord with the eyes. He has given us only 2 eyes. He does not know art of proper creation. And that too, He has given with eyelids, which blink. And at that time, that moment, we are not able to appreciate the form of the Lord. We are not able to see the form of the Lord. So He does not know the art of creation. You can imagine, this is the kind of appreciation which the gopis have for the form of the Lord. Even the blinking of eyes they cannot tolerate, because they are not able to see the form of the Lord at that time. So, these ladies in Mathura, they are saying what kind of fortune these gopis have, that they are always able to see the form of the Lord. We are lucky now. Somehow or other, Krishna has come for few days to Mathura to kill Kamsa. Now we are able to appreciate the form, and that too, somehow our unfortunate condition is we have to appreciate the form of the Lord when He is in tussle, when He is wrestling with Chanur and Mushtik. That is our unfortunate condition. So, very beautiful verse they say, Gopyas tapah kim acharan yad amushya rupam. What kind of tapasya these gopis have done? Gopyas tapah kim acharan. What kind of austerities they have performed? Yad amushya rupam. That they are able to drink the nectarian form of the Lord every moment. Yad amushya rupam. And what is the characteristic of that form of the Lord? How do we appreciate the form of the Lord? Is it ordinary form? They are saying no. Lavanya saram. This form of the Lord, it is the essence of all beauties. You see, Prabhupada translates what is the essence of loveliness. See, Lavanya saram. Anything we see lovely in this material world, the essence of that is the form of the Lord. See. Asama urdhavam. No form is anywhere equal, and what to talk about higher than the form of the Lord. Asama urdhavam. Ananya siddham. Sometimes we say that Creator has put all its ability in creating this beautiful form. But there is no Creator for the Supreme Lord. Ananya Siddham. It is ever existent. Just like we say Nitya, Siddha, Krishna Bhakti, Sadhya Kabunai. Krishna Bhakti is not manufactured. It is eternal truth. Eternally the form of the Lord is existing. Nobody has made that form. Ananya Siddham. Drigbi Pibanti Anusavya Bhinnavam. That means, even though you're constantly drinking that form, Drigbihi, with these eyes, Pibanti, you drink that form, you're never satiated. Always you want to see more. In the material world, this phenomenon does not happen. You see a form for some time, after some time you get fed up of that. And that is why then we look for another beauty, another beauty, another beauty. But see the form of the Lord. Even if you are constantly drinking, you want to see it more and more. And Durapam, to see the form of the Lord is not very easy. Durapam, it is very, very, very rare, very difficult. And Ekanta Dhama Yashaha Shriya Aishwarya, it is a single abode of all Aishwaryas. Yashaha, Shriya, Aishwarya, Ekanta Dhama. Single-handedly everything is present in that form of the Lord. This is the beautiful form of the Lord. I'll just read the translation. What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not equaled or surpassed. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. You see? So that is how we can see. And we can see how in the story of Srila Bilva Mangala Thakur, when he was reminded, when he was so attached to the form of Chintamani, so much so that even on the day of Shraddha of his father had died, he just went to the crematorium and finished all that karma. At least on that day, Chintamani never expected that Bilva Mangala would come there. But immediately after winding off the Anteshti ceremony of his father, immediately he left to meet Chintamani. And it is explained, it was raining torrently, horribly. So at least she was thinking, father has died, I don't think Bilva Mangala will turn up. Weather is so bad, I don't think Bilva Mangala will come today. So weather was heavily bad, but somehow or other he reached and he knocked on the door and she was surprised. She said, how did you come? He said, I finished that ceremony and it was raining heavily and I could not find any means to come. I took hold of a dead body, used it as a boat, swam across, came to your house. I saw your house is locked. Then I climbed through a snake which was hanging because of the rains. And that is how I have come. So she was shocked to see this. She said, Bilva Mangala, if you had the same kind of eagerness which you have to see me, if you had the same eagerness to see the form of the Lord, your life would have been changed completely. So this completely shook Bilva Mangala Thakur, and immediately he left from that place, and that is how Bilva Mangala Thakur later on became a great devotee of the Lord. So that is how we can appreciate the transcendental form of the Lord. So we'll stop with this Granth-raj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.